Greetings to all my YouTube viewers. I am Muki Sandhanam. Today I am going to speak on the world famous Shakespeare, comparing him to our Tamil sages. Hence I venture to speak in English. It was Lord Thomas Babington Macaulay who introduced English education to India as well as the Indian Penal Code. Once famously said, given a choice between Shakespeare and the entire Indian land over which British were ruling, he would rather prefer Shakespeare to India. Such was his pride about Shakespeare and his country and his literature. I am a non-entity compared to him, but still, if given a choice between the great Shakespeare and his works or one Tamil sage poet like Thirumular, I would rather prefer Thirumular to the entire works of Shakespeare. With this introduction, let me read out my essay titled Shakespeare and Tamil Sage Poets. It is prefaced with a Shakespearean quotation. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Of late, I am very much deep into Tamil spiritual literature, in consonance with my age, which is coming to fruition, metaphorically speaking. Even yesterday, I was speaking on one such book, Kaivalya Navanitam, which emphasizes on the dreamy nature of this phenomenal world. Not this alone, but many Tamil sages in their poems go on emphasizing this point. Their message goes on to say that this world is full of conflict and sorrow, and this could be overcome by telling ourselves that this world is transitory and hence a dreamlike world which is unreal. This brought back my memories of my college days where I vividly read English literature, particularly Shakespeare, the dramatist, poet of the English country. Except a few research scholars, I am sure none could have read all of Shakespearean works, which requires at least 2 bookshelves to fill up his 37 plays and 154 sonnets, leave alone understanding him fully. Of course, there are plethora of books by commentators too, enough to fill up a library. I read somewhere, even Abraham Lincoln, the statesman and a learned president of America, once said that before somebody could take away his life, he hoped to complete reading the rest of Shakespearean dramas. But that was not to be, reminding Shakespeare's dilemma of Hamlet, to be or not to be. Not one subject and life was left uncovered by Shakespeare. You cite any one subject and there is Shakespeare to comment on it. True, Shakespeare through his innumerable characters spoke, and it was only Shakespeare who spoke. And his characters acted on the stage as per his oral direction. One of his much quoted statements on life runs like this. This is from the play As You Like It. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his lifetime plays many parts. It is to be remembered that his theatre was appropriately named as Globe, and he wrote these profound sentences that point out to his dreamy globe theatre with his make-believe dramas. But why Shakespeare now? Because on repeated reading, our Tamil sages nowadays, by me, brought back the memories of my college days of Shakespeare and naturally made me compare him with that of Tamil Taimanava, Thirumular, and the like. But there is a fundamental difference between this worldly Shakespeare and the unworldly Tamil sages. How? While the motto of Shakespeare was to acquire fame and wealth through his plays, our Tamil sages like Pattinatha renounced whatever they had, calling this life Manam Vali Alayum Kanavenum Valkai, meaning dream life running after the unsteady mind. In fact, Shakespeare, though in his last years had to ponder over the impermanence and emptiness of life, his famous quotation, a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. He remained still a worldly man, unlike Thaimanavar, Pattinatha and Tirumular, who were total renunciates. That is, while Shakespeare had reached this side of the bank of the illusory world river, he could not cross it over to the other side. Our Tamil sages, blessed with Anubhuti, self-realization, not only crossed it, but burnt the boats on reaching the other side, not to come back. Anyway, from what Shakespeare had written, I, as a humble reader without prejudice, could only say that in his later matured plays like Hamlet, Macbeth, finally Tempest, he had somehow a feel of this evanescent, impermanent world, which could be compared to equally transient and fleeting dream. There is a passage in his spiritual drama, The Tempest, where his main character and magician, Prospero, creates an illusory and happy, dreamy world, stranded on a shipwrecked island, to make other characters temporarily happy, thus reminding us ultimately our pleasures are mere bubbles. The much quoted passage in this Tempest play runs like this. I quote, "Our revels now are ended. These are acted as foretold. You were all spirits and melted into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, all which it inherit shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind." We are all, very important sentence. Such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. I am reading out a few passages in Tamil poems corresponding to Shakespeare's dream world quotation. One of my much admired Thaimanavar's song runs like this. "Arpamaname agila vaazhu attanayum soppanam kandai unmai சொன்னேன் நான். கற்பனை ஒன்று இல்லாவிடத்தே வைத்திருக்க கல்லாய் நீதான் ஓர் கவி." Rendered into English it reads, "O silly mind, all this worldly life is simply a dream. I only state the truth. You do not know how to keep me in the non-imaginary place. Oh, you are nothing but the restless monkey." Ultimately, our sages reiterate that it is the mind that stands between the dream world and the real world. No doubt, the non-illusory real as against the impermanent world is here and now, and it is not elsewhere. That is why the Tamil sages, who were by luck became Jivan Muktas, woke up from this mind-driven, unreal world and still walked on this earth with no attachment and hence free from pleasure and pain. These enlightened were freed from the stumbling block called mind, which according to Buddha and U.G. Krishnamurti, the other two Jivan Muktas, is a myth. Idea-filled mind creates an optical illusion called the world, making us mistake the mirage for water. Another Tamil sage poet, Tirumular, has clarified clearly that the villain of the piece, that is the cause of this illusory and dream world, is only the mind. Once one is disillusioned from the non-existent illusory mind with its ideation and mentations, then the unreal creation of the mind disappears, and he is fully awake to a thoughtless and real blissful world which is beyond words, even beyond the words of Shakespeare. Thirumorar, in one of his 3000 poems, reiterates the illusory mind creating the illusory world. மனமாயை மாயை, இம்மாயை மயக்க மனமாயை தான் மாய மற்றொன்றில்லை, பிணை மாய்வதில்லை, பிதற்றவும் வேண்டாம், தனை ஆய்ந்திருப்பது தத்துவம் தானே. Of course, there are two modern sages to clear my doubts on this. One senior sage is Ramana Maharishi, who in his Ulladu Narpadu and Undibara poems confirms that there is only one reality and mind does not exist. In one of his conversations, Ramana Maharishi reiterates, I quote, "What you consider to be filled with a beautiful and interesting thing is indeed the dull and ignorant state of sleep to the jnani." I emphasize, to the jnani. You must wake up from the sleep which is holding you at sleep. This was exactly echoed by Shakespeare in his just quoted passage that we are such stuff that dreams are made on, and our life is surrounded with sleep. Here, the word we refer to the ajnani, the ignorant. When will I become a jnani and get rid of this unreal world and seemingly real sorrow, including the latest corona? It all depends on your genes. Butsin, U.G. Krishnamurti, the other sage of recent times, who by luck stumbled into this natural state, that is, thoughtless reality. Kathopanishad also confirms this by the statement that whomsoever it chooses, to him only it happens. It is not in our hands to wake up from our dream world. Subramanya Bharati, the poet who aspired to be a sage as Shakespeare wished to be, also upholds the statement of Tamil poets come sages in his autobiography. By his song, வாழ்வு முற்றும் கனவெனக் கூறிய மறைவலோர்தம் உரை பிழை என்றுகான், meaning there is nothing untrue about the statements of our sages that this whole life is a dream. I wish Shakespeare heard the Tamil sages from wherever he is, and I am sure he would smile and would be happy that his English statement confirms that of Tamil Jnanis. Thank you.